going to, let's see, I'm going to switch this. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so we can see each other, right?
Okay.
Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you and I can see you guys.
All right. Okay, so now we're actually live on the YouTube tube, which is interesting. Sorry for that, everybody. All right, so here we are. I don't know where Ismael is, but we're going to start again. This is Arusha from Push, a Cure fan documentary. It is February 2025, and I have been waiting for almost 9 years, I gotta say, to talk about this concert, which is
Cool.
the first concert The Cure ever played in Mexico. It was 1992 in Monterrey. And so before we get started, while we're still getting through some technical this, that, and the other, let's all go around and introduce ourselves again. I'm Arusha, and I'm in New York City. Ivan?
I'm Ivan, and I'm in Mexico City, and I'm very happy to be here with you, Arusha. After all this time waiting to do this chat, thank you so much.
Yes.
I'm Alex. I'm from Mexico City too. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm a big Cure fan, so Monterrey was the first time that I saw the Cure too. So we're happy to be here.
Oh, great. Great. So why don't you guys, Yvonne, give a little, well, actually, let me say this stuff in English and then you can say it in Spanish. So then I can check some techie stuff. So what I'm going to do is we're going to have a few people popping in and out, hopefully through the conversation. I would like this chat to be both in English and Spanish.
Right.
But the first part is going to be for the gringos.
Okay.
To understand where is, not me, hopefully everyone knows where Mexico is, but where Monterrey is in relation to Mexico City, maybe some background about what was happening in Mexico in 1992, sort of set the stage of the atmosphere of that time period.
Okay, great. And I think that geographical questions are very interesting now because at that time was Gulf of Mexico, so right now we have a little bit of confusions in that topic.
Yeah, so go ahead and tell the people in Spanish what we're going to start with and give an introduction. And again, I've been waiting 9 years to talk about this. I wanted to put it in a fanzine and it never came to fruition.
Bueno, este programa, como ya lo dijo Arusha, tiene 9 años esperando a que se pudiera hacer y un poco la idea es que participaran en él personas que acudieron a Monterrey. Y la verdad es que han pasado 33 años y muchos de los que acudimos ese día, pues teníamos muchos problemas para llegar ahí, era un contexto muy diferente al que tenemos en México. Y bueno, la idea es un poco platicar las anécdotas en general que tuvimos ese día, cómo llegamos de la Ciudad de México a Monterrey, cómo vivimos el concierto antes, durante y después, y un poco qué ha pasado. Alex también estuvo ahí. No sé, Alex, ¿qué quieras decir al respecto?
Bueno, sí, pues fue como, digo, te pones a pensar y ya pasó muchísimo tiempo. Yo tenía 18 años cuando fue la primera vez que vino de Cure. Y bueno, sí, como dices, o sea, cada quien tuvo diferentes anécdotas y pues diferentes historias, ¿no? Para llegar, pero sí hay muchos recuerdos muy claros de cómo fue y entonces pues la idea es ahorita compartirla, ¿no? Con la gente que va a estar conectándose y la gente que está escuchando en vivo.
Sí, creo que en general, ahorita que estabas diciendo, como bien dices, todos, digamos, tuvimos una manera, pues básicamente dos maneras, según yo, de llegar. La enorme mayoría se fue en autobús y en tren.
Entre.
Yo
Sí, sí.
no conozco todavía a alguien que se haya ido en avión, seguramente alguien lo habrá hecho, pero yo de todos los fans
Probablemente.
que conozco no conozco a nadie que se haya ido en avión, ¿no?
No,
Que eso habla también pues un poco de las limitantes que teníamos en ese momento económicas, ¿no? Que pues, en mi
claro.
caso por lo menos eran muchas, y
Como
era
estudiante, co-
exactamente.
como estudiante sí no tenía los recursos y pues sí, digo, yo recuerdo que yo me fui en autobús y hubo gente, amigos míos de la preparatoria que se fueron en ferrocarril, un viaje de 3 días, entonces
Oh, wait a
hay,
minute.
hay un montón de historias.
I heard autobus.
Yeah, we were
You're
we were talking about because we were students, we don't have so much money to go there. Like there's people that went by bus, there were people that went by train. The train was 3 days, a 3-day trip, and we were talking that probably we don't know anybody that took a plane to go to Monterrey at that time because we were like students, so we didn't have enough money to pay for a flight.
yeah, no, we're gonna definitely get to we are going to definitely get to sorry, I'm sending another link because I'm gonna send it to this guy, this DJ dude. We're gonna get to that, but the first thing I want to do again is let's tell the gringos. Let me see if I
Where
can.
Monterrey is?
Well, let's start back in time. So let me reposition us a little bit. Does that work, buddy? Um, yeah. Okay. So here's a map of yeah. As you can see, the Mexico and the United States, and you can see there's a star by Mexico City, which is the capital, and then north of
Yeah,
Mexico, south of San Antonio, is Monterrey. Okay, so
yeah,
Monterrey is where the Cure first came, and it's obvious if you look at the United States, it's because they were touring in the States and then they just dropped down. Also, notice that they are both very close to the Gulf of Mexico.
still.
Uh huh. Um, and maybe so. Let's tell in English like what was going on in 1992 in that era. Like before we get to the buses, the Cure had already been on tour all
Yeah,
over the world for 10 years or more, right? Not everywhere,
yeah.
but like so let take us back to like what was it like to be growing up there, hearing about this band? Why was it important?
You want to start, Ivan?
Oh, it's okay. Come on, Alex.
Okay. In 1992 in Mexico City. I mean, at that time there was like a big underground scene. The Cure never been here, but we had at that time some. I mean, some bands like we had concerts from the Ramones, the Cramps, like garage band like the Ultra Five. Um, but we knew about all this music from people that used to live in the U.S. and came and bring records. So there were people at that time. There's this place named El Chopo. It's like a street market that is on Saturdays where you can go to find like all this kind of music. For myself, that was the way to find the records and find out about new bands. And from friends, like like word of mouth, like, hey, listen to this tape. We were sharing tapes, mixtapes, so that's the way to find out about new bands.
Right.
I
Okay.
remember
But
that.
where were you, Alex, at that time? Where in Mexico?
I, I was living here in the city. I was in I was about to enter college, I think,
No, but wait.
and
Where
I
is
find
here? Where is
here
here?
at Mexico City.
Okay, so you're in Mexico City. So again, we have to orient the audience
Okay.
to look at how far south Mexico City is,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and look
It
at
was a.
how far
Uh-huh.
north Monterrey is. So what Alex is saying is that the Cure, right, or at least what I'm hearing is that the Cure were already a cult band,
Yeah.
but why do you think in Mexico during that time was Mexico a very liberal place? Were there no problems? Was it happy times all the time,
Yeah.
or was
It
there
was.
strife?
No, it was. No, it was. It was. There was a lot of people, like a lot of scene, a lot of places, clubs, and stuff. But we didn't have that kind of shows at that time here. But I think it is for the promoters. They were scared to bring these big bands because sometimes people, I mean, like underground shows, people didn't pay for the tickets and break through the doors, not paying, like breaking in. So probably promoters were scared to bring these bands because as far as I know, the Cure came to play to South America in '87 or '89. I'm not sure. Ivan, do you know?
Yeah, them playing 1987 in Brazil and Argentina
Yeah.
in March. And well, talking about this in 1992, I think talking about the context that Arusha said, I think
Hmm.
we were having some problems about how the people, how our parents, our families see us at that time. Like was a pretty conservative vision of this. I mean, like your parents think that you were going to if you are going to see this show, are you going to assist to this show? Probably you are in problems, probably you are in drugs, you are wearing black dresses, lipstick, hair like this. So they saw us like I mean when I started to ask authorization or permission to go to the show, and was very difficult to get it for my parents. I mean, I think they don't want me to go, and I think for many of us, you said you were 18, I was
Yeah.
16, and I think
They
all
were
of the fans
they were
were
very
in like
happy.
in that age.
Well, we went anyways because we wanted to see the Cure. So I remember that my parents didn't want me to go because they said, "Oh, it's gonna be a problem. There's a lot of people. It's gonna be drugs. It's gonna be a danger." But we didn't care. We just want to go see the Cure. So we went.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a question, and then maybe you can translate a little bit of this in Spanish,
Hmm.
Ivan. So what I'm hearing is that the any kind of pushback that you got from seeing a band like The Cure at the time is because your parents or people of authority were concerned that anybody who looked like this wonderful picture I have up, must be up to no good, must be doing drugs, must be, there must be something wrong, and you're going to get into trouble. And it sounds like in the just in society, like getting that band to come to Mexico, like allowing them to come was difficult. I'm also still wondering about how conservative the country was in general, or how poor or not poor, or was Monterrey a more conservative area than Mexico City? Because to give you an example, and you can, Ivan, I'm going to give this to you to say in English, but then I also want to say in Spanish, so maybe some people will say in the chat.
Okay.
So in Berlin, for example, in the 89, 90s, the Cure could not
Okay.
play, right? Because it was banned. In Hungary, they were banned until 1989 because of what was going on in those countries. So I'm wondering if in Mexico, like what was the politics or the money, or did that any of that matter?
Ok, sí, en general, bueno, un poco lo que dice Arusha es que cuál era, si éramos un país bastante conservador en ese momento o no lo éramos, o si Monterrey es más conservador o era más conservador que la Ciudad de México en 1992. Y bueno, yo creo que sí, en general, creo que éramos en ese momento una sociedad bastante conservadora en términos generales. Creo que Monterrey en ese momento también era quizás muchísimo más conservador que la Ciudad de México. Y en general pienso, no sé tú qué creas, Alex, que o sea, la enorme mayoría de los asistentes a ese concierto ese día era gente de la Ciudad de México. O sea, en realidad era, o sea, sí, naturalmente habían asistentes de Monterrey, pero casi quiero decir que el 70%, si no es que más, éramos de la Ciudad de México. Y sí creo que en general era un país mucho más conservador que
Claro.
ahora, no tiene nada que ver con la evolución que ha tenido México, que creo que ha sido muy importante y más en materia de pues muchos valores y muchas cosas que para ese momento, y como decíamos hace rato, la realidad es que para nuestros padres era como atroz dejarnos ir a ese concierto, incluso pues como tú dices, teníamos una economía de estudiantes y la verdad es que a ninguno nos querían dar dinero, o sea, el viaje fue complicado pues, prácticamente por todo, ¿no? Porque no teníamos dinero, porque no teníamos cómo llegar, porque no nos querían dar permiso de asistir al concierto, etcétera.
Sí, yo recuerdo que, bueno, yo leí como un poco las estadísticas y decían que esa noche de autobuses del norte salieron 12,000 personas para Monterrey vía autobús, porque además hubo gente que se fue en ferrocarril. Y sí, pues como dices, no sé, yo creo que un 70% de la gente que fue al concierto en Monterrey venía de la Ciudad de México. Entonces, además de que pues en esa época aquí en la Ciudad de México, pues sí era como más conservador el asunto, había mucho prejuicio con la gente que se vestía de cierta forma, que se escuchaba cierta música, ¿no? Entonces como que, y otra pues la edad que teníamos, ¿no? Nuestros papás no estaban tan contentos de dejarnos ir a un concierto que pues justo por el prejuicio que existía, pues tienen esa preocupación, ¿no? De que iba a ser un peligro, ¿no?
Okay,
I think
so
I think it's very important that one of the things that Alex just said is that 12 people, 12,000
12,000 people.
people traveling by bus from Mexico City to the show.
The night
So it
before,
means that probably the 70% or the 80% in Monterrey were from Mexico City. I mean, there was just a little crowd from Monterrey attending to the concerts. The probably 80 or 85% were from Mexico City,
yeah, because
traveling most of them by bus or by train.
I remember that night there were 12,000 people just from that bus station, Autobuses del Norte, and there were many people that traveled by train, but that were 3 days before, because the train trip was 3 days long, and 12,000 people traveled from Mexico City the night before the show. I mean, that was a Monday night. I remember that was Monday when I left. Yeah.
I actually have a clip that I
So
want
probably in the bus station they were not ready for all that people going to Monterrey.
No, they were not. They were not. Because I took a bus that was supposed to go to Acapulco, and they put those buses to Monterrey. They were supposed to go to Acapulco, so they use all the buses they have there
Go
for
to
the people
Monterrey.
going to the concert. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I have a clip I want to share that talks about a bus ride from the woman, Eva, who I wish could be here, but she can't. But before that, I want to introduce our next guest. Is it DJ? I'm gonna butcher your DJ name. Do you want to introduce yourself, DJ Koji?
I can introduce myself. My name is Erich Martino. I have a long-standing career in radio. I already was working pure play in Monterrey. Actually, I'll probably gonna tell that story later on. But I'm also a club DJ. So the DJ Koji thing comes from when at some point in time, later than 1992, I started playing in clubs. A funny quick joke about that is you couldn't have a name. You couldn't be just DJ Eric. You have a fancy name. So I ended up having the DJ Koji one. But the name that I normally use is Erich Martino from Simon.
Welcome. There's a
Hola.
little bit of
Well,
a sticky.
Se
are you-
corta.
echo.
Se oye cortado un poco.
it-
Okay,
it-
I'll try to figure it out. You're gonna play a video. Let me figure it out.
yeah, I'm gonna
if I
figure it
can
out.
find
And you know
out.
what? This app says you're supposed to wear headphones, and these guys aren't, and it sounds fine. So you'll figure it out. But in the meantime, let's hear. So in 2016, this is why I say I've been wanting to talk about this story since 2016. Let's see if I can find my video. So I was it was the 3 nights in New York, right, at Madison Square Garden for 2016. I went to film at a Cure event at this Morbid Anatomy Museum. And at the end of the event, hosted by Andy, who's a wonderful DJ, she just said, oh, let's, people come up and talk about why you love the Cure. And so here's one from Ava, which I just fell in love with her and the images that she gave. Let's see.
My name is Ava. I've been a huge Cure fan since I was about 10. And me and my sister, growing up, we used to spend our weekends singing and performing all of our favorite songs. I have a lot of footage of me singing The Caterpillar and a lot of different Cure songs when I was like 12 years old. I grew up in Mexico City, so The Cure didn't come play there until I was in high school. It was in Mexico City, it was in Monterrey. So me and hundreds of other Cure fans took a train for like 8 hours up to the north of Mexico, and it was the most amazing train ride ever. Everyone was playing, everyone had their boom boxes, everyone was playing The Cure, we were all smoking cigarettes because you could smoke, everyone had their Cure t-shirts, and then they played, a 3-hour concert outdoors. It was a full moon. If I had to choose one band those were the only records I could have in my life. The Cure definitely, they're the most important one. They're the only band that I've cried, danced, fucked,
Yes.
Everything too. The only one.
Yeah. So that's Dear Ava. She has a documentary out right now about the woman who sang Goodbye Horses, which was featured in Silence of the Lambs. But we'll get to that one later. So she talks about this 8-hour train ride, right? But she talks about it in a romantic way. Like we were all smoking cigarettes and playing and was that, I think Alex and Yvonne were on the bus. Was that your experience?
Not really. Not really. Because it was so uncomfortable. There was a 12-hour trip, non-stop trip. And then I was, like tired next morning, but excited at the same time. But it was not a good experience traveling 12 hours by bus. And we got beers for the night, but they didn't let us get in, and they took the beers away, and it wasn't fun at all. My trip, at least.
Yvonne, what about you? Oh, now we can't hear you.
No, we can hear Ivan, no.
I think now. I think it was a very fun trip because I don't have at that time any money, and my father don't give me any money. He just paid me. I had to bargain him to pay me for the bus trip, for the bus ticket, and he was able to do that for me. But he just give me the exactly amount, to pay just the basic things, and the basic things means go to 7-Eleven at that time. Probably we don't have 7-Eleven at that time in Mexico City. I don't know. I don't remember. But just to have a hot dog or something like that during 3 or 4 days. So I decided to make a copy of Wish, who wasn't selling Mexico at that time. So I make 3 copies. Probably you remember the Sony tapes. So I make this tape, and I make 30, 20 or 25 copies of Wish, and I start to sell them inside the bus station, in front of the bus, in the bus gate.
Even before you left, even.
Yes, inside of the bus station. So by that way, I can have some money, and was amazing because I put like my little cell standing of the tapes, and in 10 or 15 minutes they were sold out. So was great for me to sell that tape at that time, and I could have some money for the expenses in Monterrey.
Great, and I know.
And the trip was okay.
I know that you. Well, I don't know if I want to give it away, but we'll get to whether you got in, who got into the gig or not. But let's go to Erich and say, so were you working the gig?
Yes, no, not in the gig. Let's do the technical thing first. Can you hear me now or not?
Se sigue oyendo cortado.
Okay, let's try this thing. I'm gonna disconnect this whole hardware and let's see if that works better.
Okay.
That might be better.
Ahí, pero no tengo controles de audio. Ahí.
¿Se escucha
¿Me
mejor?
escuchan mejor?
Sí.
Sí.
Ok,
mucho mejor.
Creo que sí. Yo a ustedes los escucho ahora muy bajito, pero creo que sí. Ok. Vuelvo a preguntar nada más para estar seguro. ¿Me escuchan?
Perfectamente, mucho mejor.
Ok, perfecto, vamos. Entonces decía, yo ya trabajaba en el radio en ese momento. I was working on the radio at that time already, but I was very young. Radio actually was a job that I got while I was at the same time in university. So I was assistant in many ways. And what happened is I was working in WFM, which was a very popular radio station of pop music,
Claro.
not necessarily of alternative and kind of obscure music. But
Wait,
they
hold on.
were aware of
Erich.
this other scene of music. So one of the roles that I had, because I was into the more alternative
Commercial
scene
interruption.
in Mexico City, was that they
So you were we could hear you very well in the beginning, and then it faded out.
Yeah, I think, Eric, si pones tu micrófono que tienes ahí un poco más cerca de ti, hace un momento que lo tenías, se escuchaba muy bien.
Still rolling, okay. Still rolling. Oh, you're testing. Oh, you're going to start over? He's going to come back in.
Yes, sí.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's carry on. And so, Ivan, you're traveling up on the 8-hour, 9-hour, 12-hour bus, and Alex is too. And Alex, you had tickets, right?
Yeah, but I don't have it here. I have ticket like at that time, or
meaning you had a ticket in. You had a ticket to get into the show.
Oh yeah, I did because we got the tickets here in advance. Because we were, when we found out about the concert, we got the tickets in advance. I think at Auditorio Nacional there was like a box office, so we got our tickets in advance. When we got to Monterrey, we had tickets already. Because at that time I was selling CDs, and I used to do tapes from my CDs to sell at my school. So that's where I got money to go to the concert. So yeah.
Okay.
I still selling records now, but yeah.
Okay, so it's summertime in Mexico. It's very hot, right?
Yeah.
Very hot.
Not hot.
And more in Monterrey. Not in Mexico City, in Monterrey.
No, in Monterrey was really hot.
Okay.
Because summers in Mexico City, they weren't really hot.
And Ivan, did you have tickets to get in?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was totally different. Like Alex said, I think most of us buy the ticket at that time at the National Auditorium.
Yep.
and we got the ticket in advance. Of course, there were not web tickets or something like that. You just go there and buy the tickets with peace in your mind, without QQs or digital QQs or something like that. And I think it was pretty easy to get tickets. It was not difficult at all.
Mm-hmm.
It was not an issue to get the ticket, at least in my case, Alex. Yeah.
It was Ticketmaster already, I think.
Ticketmaster,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. For some reason, Ivan, I thought that that you didn't get in right away or something, but maybe I was confused. So you had your tickets. Everybody had their tickets, and now let's go back to Erich and see what we.
Yeah, sorry, I'm back. I disconnected the whole thing, and then I think I needed to restart because somehow, even though it was not using it, it was expecting to use it. You can hear me now well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Great. Okay, so yeah, I was saying, I was already working in radio. I was working in a radio station called WFM 96.9 in Mexico City. And I was, at that time, only an assistant. I was studying, and I was this kind of guy that kind of was aware of alternative music, obscure bands, etc. And trying actually to help that radio station, which at that time was mainly a pop-oriented radio station, to have a little bit of a view into those things. Funnily enough, I started to work in this radio station because I started to win a lot of tickets in many different of the contests that they were doing. And I won tickets to see the Disintegration Tour in 1998. And that's actually how I met Alejandro González Iñárritu, who is now a very famous director, but at the time was the director of WFM. And he actually said this quote in which he said, well, it's probably going to be cheaper to hire you in the radio station than to keep giving you these type of awards. And so I ended up working for them. And at that time, actually, of course, the people on the air was Charo Fernandez, Martin Hernandez, and I think Alejandro was still there at that time in '92. So then there were the voices, and the one that actually got to interview at that time, Robert Smith, was Charo Fernandez. But they told me, hey, you're going to go, right? Like, yeah, I actually want to go, etc. So then they pay for my plane ticket to being able to get to Monterrey. And I kind of get like some sort of an ID that I could make at that time, that it was kind of with a couple stamps, kind of look official. So, and they told me, well, you're going to be on the ground. You're the guerrilla side of the experience. We're going to have Charo. Charo is going to go, and she's going to interview the band and all those things. But you go on the ground and see what you can get. And of course, at that time there were no mobiles or things, so there's no way to get pictures and things. You need to kind of do it whatever on your own. And my girlfriend at that time, she used the train, so I was kind of aware of what was happening with all these things that you were describing, which I wasn't a part of that because I flew because of the radio station, but my girlfriend was. So then in Monterrey, when I met with her and she had arrived, she told me all these things that you're telling me and how it was a complete mess, and that definitely the city and the services were not prepared. You were asking a little bit before when I started to listen to this, what was the social kind of like the structure of society in Monterrey and in Mexico. And it's very interesting because you need to remember that they weren't, since the 60s until 1997, there were no concerts in Mexico. So concerts started
probably
in
just for the
1967 and 1988. So, and actually the first concerts in Mexico were probably 88, 89, because the first concerts were Santana in León, and then Rod Stewart, which was happening in Querétaro. So those were outside of the city because the government wasn't sure that we could do these things, so it needed to be a kind of outside. So 1992, you need to remember and kind of figure it out that we were still a very young nation in terms of how an event, a large event, is done. So there weren't many, there were very few, and of course there was no expertise, no precedent. So a lot of these things still had this kind of an adventurous side of it. And there was still a little bit of control in terms of, can we allow these things to happen or not? I don't have the proper knowledge or the facts if that actually was one of the reasons of why The Cure only played in Monterrey and not in Mexico City. But it wouldn't be strange if that is actually related, that in a way maybe they felt like, no, this is kind of still a very very aggressive, rebellious kind of music. Maybe this is not, the city is not yet ready for these type of things. Again, I don't have any facts that support this, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is a little bit of a relationship of that. Nevertheless, as you guys were saying before, it was definitely people from Mexico City in the show. In the ground, you could tell that it was all these people that was traveling from Mexico City to see this huge concert. In a way, I think that this concert marks the first large alternative concert in the whole of the country. Like probably there were a couple of tinier ones, but this is the first big one, the first stadium concert of an alternative band. And I think that The Cure, it's very important also to match this kind of historical point of view with kind of what's happening with the career of The Cure, because we're coming exactly after this kind of block of albums that now if you had to explain The Cure to extraterrestrials, you will choose the canon of The Cure. And most probably you will say like, okay, if I can only show you a tiny bit of the career, I will start with The Head on the Door, then Staring at the Sea, which is, of course, the compilation made for K-Rock in LA, then Kiss Me, and Disintegration, right? So then Wish comes precisely after that moment, which in many ways, of course, is the first time that we have the opportunity to see this band that is at the highest of their sound and their development and what they mean for the world. So it definitely felt like something that no one wanted to miss this. The tiniest interest that you could have in alternative, you were there. And it's incredible because, of course, people from our generations, every single person that you try to ask, they were there or they tried to go. They definitely tried to participate and to be a part of this massive event, which was incredible. So that's actually how my experience into how I arrived there. And I'm probably going to let you to ask another question or let someone else talk, and then we can tell more things. But that's my introduction on why am I talking today here with you all.
Oh, that was really interesting. Very good. Very good. I have a lot of points to that.
Yeah.
So what I want to do, and maybe even Erich, you can translate yourself, because I'm going to give a quote that my friend Ismail, who I don't know where he just disappeared into he's stuck on the hill. Signal is weak. Had 2 flats. He's a cyclist. So he'll be here in a minute. But when Yvonne and Ismail and I were talking, this is what the dialogue was. Let's see. The local people in Monterrey didn't know what was going on. They were scared of the black clothes, the hair, the lipstick. Monterrey at the time was ultra conservative. And Ismail said, 40,000 young fans. The streets were dyed black. 40,000 young fans. The streets were dyed black, filled with black boots, sprayed hair, painted faces, madness and magic all at once. If I remember correctly, it was 102 degrees, but we didn't care. So maybe Erich,
Super hot day.
If you want to
super hot day.
Briefly translate that, and then just super brief of what you kind of said before in Spanish.
Okay, yeah, well, you were just telling us, tú nos estabas diciendo ahorita de 2 personas que estuvieron ahí, que también comentaban que toda la ciudad de Monterrey no estaba preparada para tanta gente vestida de negro, todos alternativos, muchos con maquillaje y estas cosas que definitivamente, bueno, Monterrey de alguna u otra forma ha sido una ciudad siempre del lado más conservador dentro de la sociedad mexicana. Y pues estamos hablando de ya de muchos años, en ese momento probablemente era más notorio. Y luego todo lo que yo dije antes fue que yo vengo de trabajar en WFM con Martín Hernández, Charo Fernández y Alejandro González Iñárritu. De hecho, yo entré a trabajar con ellos en base a ganarme boletos. Una de las giras que me gané fue para ver a The Cure en la gira Disintegration. Y fue a través de ese trabajo con ellos, cuando yo era todavía un asistente, estaba en la universidad al mismo tiempo que ya trabajaba ahí en el radio, mientras Charo iba y viajaba y entrevistaba a Robert Smith como parte estelar de WFM, yo voy por mi parte, mi novia va en el tren, yo voy a nivel de cancha a tratar de ver qué es lo que pasaba a nivel con la gente. Me entero de las cosas que aquí comentaban hace rato, pues de todas estas 8 horas de que los servicios no eran suficientes, de cómo el tren estaba lleno de todos estos oscuros goths ahí tratando de ir a Monterrey, todo tipo además, pues cubriendo pues todos los estratos de la sociedad. Y bueno, yo llego hasta Monterrey y ahí me entero de estas cosas que están pasando. No estoy seguro si pues, es tratando de hacer un resumen. Creo que con eso queda más o menos cubierta en español la parte de lo que estaba contando y esa es la razón por la que el día de hoy estoy aquí. Ahorita contamos más cosas.
Yeah. I think that it's very interesting what Eric was just saying about two things. Well, two things I want to say. You are the first person I know that arrives to Monterrey in a plane. Because no,
Me too.
really, I'm telling
never
you the
heard.
truth. I mean, after 33 years of
my girlfriend went on the train, so as you can imagine,
yeah, I understand.
know what you're saying.
I understand because
I had the thing of the radio.
Yeah, you have the background of the radio station, and I think that was an amazing interview of Charo Fernández and Alejandro González Iñárritu y todo eso debe haber sido increíble. Y otra cosa, another thing that you were saying that it's very interesting about why they decide to not to come to Mexico City or why they don't include it. I think I'm not pretty sure if it was about a geographical thing because they were coming for Austin. Yeah. And after Austin, the next show was, I have just here in my hands, they play in Dallas on 13, then play Monterrey on 16, and 19 in Phoenix. So I think probably as you were saying, we were not ready to have these huge, massive concerts.
Faltó traducir eso.
At all. So I think they just basically go to the biggest city in Mexico, near to the border with the United States,
Geographically was
and
easy,
go back
right?
and go back to Phoenix. I think that can be the reason.
Faltó traducir esa parte que dije, que esa es la parte que me estaba perdiendo. También conté que era importante la parte histórica un poco, de que en México teníamos desde el 87, 88, empezando con los conciertos de escala internacional, que además empezaron fuera de la Ciudad de México, por miedo a lo que podía pasar en la ciudad con los conciertos. Entonces había estado Santana en León, después Rod Stewart en Querétaro. Entonces The Cure y todos los conciertos en general, pues aún estábamos en pañales, no había una infraestructura ni un conocimiento realmente de cómo hacer estos eventos. Lo que tú estás diciendo ahorita tienes toda la razón, puede tener. Yo de repente decía, bueno, yo no sé si era parte de esta cuestión política todavía de controlar un poco qué ocurría o no en la ciudad, pero creo que tu punto de vista es como más acertado, donde es muy probable que por simple cuestión de logística y que no hubiera toda la infraestructura montada como para así dos conciertos seguiditos o nada más hay un día, nos da tiempo nada más de ir a Monterrey, probablemente por pura logística es que termina siendo ese concierto entre dos de las tocadas de The Cure en Austin y Dallas, que queda ahí Monterrey, que evidentemente está cerca, y eso es lo que les daba tiempo de llevar. Así que eso suena también como perfecto. Pero insisto, es importante como recordar el plano histórico-social, donde esas cosas...
Totalmente.
Y luego también el punto que The Cure se encontraba en el punto más alto de su carrera, ¿no? Veníamos de esa serie de álbums que además incluían una recopilación, el Staring at the Sea. Entonces, como que todos estábamos en The Cure es la mejor banda del mundo, ¿no? Y que vengan a tocar en su primer concierto era definitivamente algo que no se iba a perder. Nadie con que tantito interés en la música alternativa, todos estaban ahí.
Tuviese, claro.
Okay, I think that we translated everything now.
Yeah.
All right. So in a timeline where it's the summer of '92. We've traveled, up to Monterrey. Some people were smoking cloves and having a good time, like Ava. Alex was a little irritated. Eric came on a plane. Yvonne was happy because he had some money in his hand because he did his bootlegs. And then we get to the streets of Monterrey and it's covered with people. right? That's at least what it seems like.
The whole of the city was full of Cure fans. I've only seen something similar when I was living in Helsinki, and I had the opportunity to be there when Iron Maiden was playing. It's the only other time when I've seen a whole of a city invaded by fans of a band. So Monterrey was absolutely like that. That wherever you were going, it was just full of dark T-shirts, hairs all crazy, a lot of men with makeup, I mean, the things that again for the time and
It was like an invasion.
yeah, like an invasion totally of this kind of like what you're showing, no? So imagine the whole of the city covered by this. I actually tried to go to the hotel where they were staying, which for whatever reason I want to say that was Camino Real. I am not, it's many years. So if I'm wrong in the hotel, please forgive me. And I was not able to get in. But the reason I'm trying to say this is because I thought that, let's try to go to the hotel and maybe we can catch them in the lobby or something happening. But I was very naive because by the time that I and some of my friends arrived to the hotel, we realized that there were thousands of people who thought the same. So then the whole of the hotel, the lobby and everything was full of people, and the team of the hotel was trying to keep people at ease and try to keep them outside. And again, there's no precedent of this type of things happening. So it's not like the hotels now that they probably very well know how to handle a little bit of an audience of a famous guest and keep them outside. At the time, they were really struggling. So I was able actually to get in the hotel. No chance to see anyone from The Cure, but I found two of the members of Chilean Orphan, which was the band that was opening for The Cure, that show. And they
Wasn't Cranes?
Cranes. It was Cranes.
Or Cranes.
Cranes.
Was Cranes or Chilean Orphan?
No, Cranes. It was Cranes.
They
Okay.
all had big hair.
And there was a girl and a couple. So yeah, probably in both of those bands that actually happens. Okay. So then they were there. I wasn't that aware of their careers or anything, to be completely honest at the time. But I just tried to get something, not like, hey, and they played it difficult. I'm also imagining that with all this chaos happening, it was probably hard for them to figure out how do we interact. So they told me, well, if you wait here until we kind of have breakfast, then maybe we can do a very short interview or whatever. But of course, the hotel and all the team was struggling. My kind of sort of ID was not good enough for allowing me to stay there. So then I was taken out of the hotel, and again, it was just full of people, which is probably the whole point of this. No, the whole city was covered wherever you were.
Yeah, so I have this picture. I think this is Ivan, but this was probably after the concert, right?
That was before the concert. I think that was before, and Simon was arriving there. At that time inside the hotel, which I don't remember, like Erich says, that if it was Camino Real, I think it was that hotel. I don't remember really, but I think at that time was the expensive hotel in Monterrey. Like you say, they don't know how to handle all that people, all that crowd inside the hotel. They don't have any idea on how to handle it. And well, at that time in the I don't know why Paul and Boris Williams and Perry arrived prior to Simon and Robert. And I hear a lot of stories. Probably you already hear about this couple of stories also, that Simon and Robert traveled by bus. And I don't know if they make a plane or how the Boris and Paul arrived earlier. But I hear some stories about Robert in the border and Simon where in the border they stay like 4 hours waiting to cross to Mexico City. At that time we have maybe you remember, Alex, and you, Eric, that we have that system of one light stop and you have to push, and
green or red.
you have green light or red light, and some people say that Robert pushed and they have the red light, so they check her belongings or and many things, and that's where they have a delay in the border to cross to get inside Mexico City, to get inside Mexico and finally arrive to Monterrey.
Hold on, keep that there. There we go. There's, oh, you have the ticket stub. Nice. Nice. Okay, so we have to explain this red light, green light thing, and I maybe a little bit in just a moment and mention it in Spanish, and then I didn't understand what you meant. Can you explain more? Explain me.
Iván.
Bueno, we were talking about that.
En español.
Perdón, en español. Simplemente estábamos diciendo que cuando, digamos que la banda llegaron primero, Paul, Boris y Perry Bamonte llegaron primero, también estaban los miembros de Cranes adentro del hotel. Pensamos que era el Camino Real, no estamos tan seguros de qué hotel era. Y bueno, por muchas historias que se publicaron incluso en algunos periódicos, parece ser que Robert y Simon llegaron en un autobús después, y todo fue porque cuando en aquel momento teníamos el sistema del semáforo, que todos ustedes recordarán que tenías que tocar el semáforo en el aeropuerto o cuando cruzabas la frontera, y si te tocaba el rojo te tenían que revisar tus pertenencias, tu maleta, etcétera. Entonces, al parecer, a Robert le tocó el rojo y por eso fue que se demoraron en la frontera un poco más de lo normal. Y bueno, de por sí, vamos a hacer un viaje que como lo hablábamos hace un rato, no tendría que haber sido tan largo, ¿no? Quizás, no sé, de Dallas a Monterrey, digamos que podrían ser que unas 7 u 8 horas, igual para ellos que para nosotros, desde la Ciudad de México, pero se prolongó muchísimo en la frontera porque le tocó el semáforo rojo. Eso es, digamos, lo que dice el Vox Populi. Tampoco son hechos que me consten, pero parece ser que...
pero yo también recuerdo que lo que se decía es que llegaron como apenas, ¿no? O sea, que era como no mucho tiempo para descansar ni nada, porque
sí,
venían
la noche anterior.
De una manera retrasados. Eso era como de lo que corría ahí entre las voces populares, sí.
Sí, no, sí, efectivamente, llegaron la noche anterior. Yo no recuerdo exactamente, Eric, cómo llegué al hotel, pero llegué pues un poco con la muchedumbre que nos íbamos moviendo y tratando de un poco de enterarnos de todo. Y recuerdo perfectamente que de alguna manera ingresamos ahí varias personas. Yo estaba con mi novia que tenía en ese momento. Y de pronto, pues bueno, apareció Simon y Robert, que fueron inmediatamente ingresados al elevador, pero sí, justo como tú dices, llegaron exactamente la noche, o sea, ya tarde, la noche anterior del concierto, ¿no? Y al parecer al otro día fueron a visitar el Museo Marco, que está en
Marco,
Monterrey,
sí, eso también.
Fecha,
sí, yo también recuerdo escuchar eso.
So Yvonne, what were, I didn't really understand what you were saying about the red light and green light.
Oh, we used to have a security system in the borders, regardless if you were traveling by bus or by airplane, that when you were coming from international trips. So they don't open the luggage of everyone, but there was a kind of a red light, green light thing. So you press the button and it was random. But if by pressing the button you get a green light, then they will not actually review your luggage. But if you get the red one, then there's a revision, and then there's a check, and then they open your luggage and see what you're carrying there, and they ask you a couple of questions or whatever. So that, of course, it depends on how many luggage you're carrying, probably how you look too, and all these type of things. And there's this rumor, that maybe that was one of the reasons why they were kind of delayed compared to the other members of the band that arrived earlier.
Oh, so you're talking about the Cure, Robert specifically.
Yep.
Yeah. There's some information about that Robert pushed the button in the border of this system, like we are saying,
on
and
the plane.
he got red light in the border.
Airport. Oh, in the
It also
the
happens in buses.
border-
We're not sure if he arrived on a plane or in a bus, but it happened. If you're coming from outside of Mexico, it happened in both. So
Yes. Okay, I get it now. So I'm gonna play another clip while I'm gonna try to get Alex back in. Let's see. This should be. Let's see if I can get this. This should be a news broadcast from the time.
En Monterrey, Nuevo León.
Monterrey, Nuevo León fue invadida por los fans de Robert Smith y su grupo The Cure, quienes pisaron tierras mexicanas para ofrecer el concierto del año. Resulta que a este evento acudieron los más importantes medios de comunicación de nuestro país y la verdad que quedamos sorprendidísimos al ver a tantos jóvenes talentosos en el medio cubriendo todos el mismo evento. Por otra parte, Robert Smith es alérgico a viajar en avión, por lo que lo transportaron por tierra teniendo que esperar 4 horas en la aduana antes de cruzar a nuestro país. No fue la mejor de las impresiones, sin embargo, como este grupo es súper profesional, el concierto resultó de antología. En unos minutos más tendrás en este mismo espacio la reseña con...
there you go. They're saying that actually. They're saying that it was somehow delayed in the security when he was traveling. So actually, they just say that. And if I may be wrong. Of course, there's many years, so the voice has changed. But at that time, Oscar Uriel and Beatriz Acevedo, they were the two main hosts of a particularly kind of an MTV in Spanish kind of a version TV show that happened only in Monterrey. And I'm almost certain that who's talking there is Oscar Uriel. But this is also very, very early on in his career. This is I actually was like, oh my God, it's Oscar who's talking there. So this is from ages ago. And they had a Big or Bang TV or something like that. That it was this channel that some sort of a early Latin version of MTV. We didn't have MTV at the time in Mexico, or not MTV Latino, but for sure.
¿Telehit era?
No. It was only in Monterrey. It was this specific thing.
Oh, okay.
Something with B that again, like Bang or Big or Bang TV. Can't really remember. We need someone from Monterrey for that.
I think it's very interesting what about Erich is talking about, because I would like to talk a little bit about information, and I think it's very good to have Erich here. And probably you remember, Erich, I think for everyone was for Mexicans in general was very difficult to know which concerts were playing in United States or in Europe. I mean, we don't have any access to know if The Cure, or not just The Cure, any band were playing in United States or United Kingdom. I mean, I think the only two sources I have at that time, or three, was Rolling Stone magazine, Melody Maker, that was pretty difficult to get them in Sanborn's stores and in some very specific stores, and Charo Fernandez and the station where you used to work at that time. But was not like we have the information, to plan like we can do it right now, that, they are going to play in November and I buy my tickets to go there. I mean, we don't have at that time any kind of information, not just for The Cure, of any band. Was very difficult to go. I mean, I know a lot of fans of The Cure that been in many shows, probably 200, 300 shows, and basically it's because they were living in United Kingdom and then they were living in United States. And that's how you can explain how they can be in so many concerts until now. I mean, basically all the Mexican fans starts in 1992, except just some specific exceptions, like you, that who wins the. I think there were 5 seconds of each song, if I don't remember.
I'm not sure if it can be played. I do have actually the audio of the Cure tracks, but I mean that's
Cure
I
tracks.
I heard.
I have the audio.
I remember that on WFM, that TQ tracks, there were three tracks in 5 seconds, just segments. You need to find out what songs are, and you won the prize.
Yeah,
Because I won a
I
prize in WFM, but in 1994 for Green Day in New York. But I
yeah.
was too young when I heard that one in '89 to see the Cure in Houston. I think that was the
In
concert.
Dallas,
So Eric,
Dallas.
you
Dallas.
won the prize to be in Dodger Stadium.
No, in Dallas, in the Starplex
Oh,
Amphitheater.
And there was
okay.
this
Uh,
agency, Forum International. They used
yeah,
to do tour trips, like a whole flight going to a concert, right?
yeah, I think Forum was related to the other radio station, to Rock 101. But
Oh, okay.
let me see if I can play it here.
Do you have
I'm
the?
not sure if.
Oh,
Yeah, I have it recorded because I
Well,
won.
what
So then
so
this is when I
while
won
you're
the
looking
tickets
that
on the
up,
radio.
I just want to say that there is a couple of comments of people who don't speak English saying, is it all going to be all in English? So they're coming in and out. So it is important to, try to go back and forth. I mean, it's making me dizzy even. So I don't know if everyone else is keeping track, but that everything that you just brought up is very interesting.
I'll try to translate. Lo que estaba diciendo él es que es un momento también donde hay que recordar que no había información para los fans de The Cure y de nadie más. La música llegaba tarde, no teníamos internet, no había un montón de las formas en las que hoy te enteras cuándo una banda va a tocar en algún lugar o no. Y era mucho más difícil, no era como hoy que es medianamente sencillo decir, van a tocar el 9 de noviembre, me compro un boleto y voy a ir a verlos en Dallas o en Los Ángeles o en donde sea. Así que era más complicado, había muy pocos medios. Él menciona la Rolling Stone que se podía comprar en los Sanborns en ese momento. ¿Dijiste el Enemy o cuál fue el otro que dijiste? La otra revista.
Melody Maker y Rolling Stone.
Melody Maker, sí, claro, la Rolling Stone y el Enemy, esas cosas que llegaban y era la única forma en la que enterabas que como que había giras. Pero no era tan sencillo y era siempre con un delay. Entonces, las cosas que nos llegaban en medios, que era un poco lo que pasaba con este canal. Todo esto empezó porque estábamos hablando de este canal que existía en Monterrey, que era una especie de, antes de Telehit, y era local solo de Monterrey, tenía esta existencia ahí, donde estaban Óscar Uriel y Beatriz Acevedo, que eran los que conducían, y que pues, de alguna manera jugaban también ese rol de lo que en México ocurría con Rock 101, con Luis Gerardo Salas, que eran un poco más rockers y alternativos, y Charo Fernández, Martín Hernández y Alejandro en WFM, que era un poquito más pop en el momento. Y luego estamos ahí con esto de las oportunidades y las cosas que salen, y yo decía que tengo por aquí el audio, lo que espero es que suene si le doy play. Déjenme ver, me dicen si lo escuchan.
Ojalá.
¿Suena algo?
sí.
No.
No se oye claro, pero sí se escucha.
Are you trying to play the tracks?
Yeah, I have it there. What I was thinking is, well, yeah, I probably need to send it to you and you can add it there. But I do have the audio of those things.
Maybe we can.
When WFM was playing the Cure tracks, and I have my audio winning, and Alejandro González Iñárritu being like, he gave me the prize.
That's so funny that it's, I worked with him, and I wish that I could say it was awesome, but that's another story.
Oh.
For another time.
Well, he was my boss for like 9 years, so for me it was awesome.
Was he a maniac?
He's a maniac, yeah.
Yeah, he's
that's the price, right?
A freaking maniac.
Yeah.
Like, I was so excited. This is on a tangent. I worked with him on Birdman. I was so excited to work with him. And what's the other Mexican, the cinematographer that he likes to work with?
Emanuel Lubezki, El Chivo.
Yep. And I was so excited, and they murdered the crew. They just.
Sorry.
Yeah. That was them.
Yeah, they would say, so I was a PA, and they call it a turnaround when what your turnaround means, like you go to work, you go home, go to bed, and some people with a union job have an 8-hour turnaround, but a PA goes to work, goes home, turns around, and goes back to work, and so.
Wow.
But, okay. So now I want to get us back to the concert. I think Erich, we can include that later, like in the quote unquote show notes, and whatever. So we get to the gig. The city's flooded, and Yvonne, you don't have a lot of money, but you have like a hot dog or something to get to fuel. You're in, and so it's a stadium, right? So we enter the field.
It's big. It's big. Yeah, it's a stadium.
And
was a football stadium.
Was it sold out?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. I also don't know, but it definitely didn't feel empty for sure. As we were been saying, with this history and context in Mexico at the time, every single concert there was more people than was expected, because we were still measuring things. So I'm not really sure if it was completely sold out, but it wasn't empty for sure. By no means, it was a lot of people.
I think it was for 20,000 people, the stadium, and I remember that I heard that it was 17,000 people, almost sold out, but it was packed.
Yeah, you know what this is a total, sort of a tangent. So 1991, 1992, this was the age of Nirvana. I don't know if did Kurt Cobain die in 1993? Was it
94?
Oh, 94.
94.
Okay,
94, yeah.
So Nirvana was hitting, Jane's Addiction, and Morrissey was really big in solo. And I remember being at Coachella or something in LA. Oh, now, Koji, are you there? Did you go dark? Or maybe he's just turned off his video. I remember seeing a Morrissey concert in LA, and there was a ton of Mexican fans.
Oh, yeah.
There. And at the time, I said to myself, because I didn't really know, because again, we didn't really have the internet or anything like that. I was like, I didn't know what that was about. So now talking about The Cure and it sort of being not the first concert, not the first alternative band, but it's kind of interesting to think about that, Morrissey, the stupid like rivalry between The Cure and Morrissey, which I don't even think really exists, but there was that fervor of these Mexican Morrissey fans that were just eating him up. You know what I mean? Was it like that at The Cure, or was it more of a discovery point?
I remember at that time that it wasn't like that. It was later, because there were more The Cure fans than Morrissey or Smith fans that I remember at that time here in Mexico.
Maybe it was just
fan
LA.
base. Yeah. Yeah. But here in Mexico City, I can remember there was more The Cure and Depeche Mode. I mean, the huge fan bases. Morrissey, Smith was smaller, I think. I remember. I mean, I'm not sure.
I think there is also a tiny bit of context to understand Mexico, and mainly Mexico City and Los Angeles are very close by connections. There is definitely a lot of people that has family or very close friends, or a lot of Mexicans that move to LA, etc. So whatever happens in LA is very important to Mexico City. And at that time, and that's what I mentioned, staring at the sea, because what it was happening in LA in the second part of the 80s, first part of the 90s, which actually ends when the whole of the American grungy kind of scene starts to happen. But just before that, in LA, there was K-Rock. And in San Diego, there was 91X. And both stations were really big and influential to the things that were coming back to Mexico. But K-Rock was so big in terms of a market for the record labels that the record labels did compilations of the history of the bands that they were playing, because of the success in America that was happening through K-Rock. So that's why you get Catching Up with Depeche Mode, which is the American version of the singles 81 to 85 of Depeche Mode for the first part of historical. That's why you get Staring at the Sea from The Cure. And that's why you also get Louder Than Bombs, which is the compilation from the Smiths that happens. So those three albums actually appear, and Substance from New Order. So all those albums appear precisely in 87, 88, because that's the moment when K-Rock is actually promoting these bands with everything. They're the core bands of what's happening. So to being able to make the concerts profitable, they actually make deals with the record labels, and the record labels create these compilations. So it's not by chance or accident that all these things happen at that moment in time. It's because it is a very profitable business for the record labels that they realize, finally we got it. This is the way that we can get the British bands into the US. And again, because it's LA, the influence that K-Rock has in Mexico and Mexico City mainly is a little bit like a tangent, but it's undeniable. You can't ignore why in Mexico we were aware of the career of the Smiths, the New Order, the Cure, and the Depeche Mode, which of course were the core bands for this group of people that we're just talking about. Voy a traducir en español. I'm going to translate. Una de las cosas que pasaba en contexto histórico en la segunda parte de los 80s y principio de los 90s es que México y Los Ángeles siempre han estado conectados tradicionalmente. Hay gente que tiene familia, hay gente que tiene amigos, muchos mexicanos se van a Los Ángeles. Entonces nuestra conexión es muy directa, sobre todo con la Ciudad de México. Y una cosa que ocurría en esa segunda mitad de los 80s es que había dos estaciones fronterizas, 91X en San Diego y K-Rock en Los Ángeles, que eran las más influyentes de ese momento histórico en esas ciudades. Y K-Rock, sobre todo, sí tenía una fuerte comunicación y una fuerte influencia con las disqueras. Y en base a que se dan cuenta de que K-Rock está abriendo la puerta para esta ola británica de bandas alternativas, es que salen las recopilaciones de todos estos grupos, estos que estábamos hablando. The Smiths viene con Louder Than Bombs, que es del 87, Staring at the Sea de The Cure, que es del 87, Catching Up with Depeche Mode, que es la versión americana de la primera parte de singles de Depeche Mode, y Substance de New Order. Y todas estas cosas ocurren para que estos grupos, pues la gente conociera más canciones y pudieran hacerse los conciertos y fueran redituables. Y esa parte, aunque es muy local de Los Ángeles, es innegable que tiene un peso muy grande en el gusto que define a la parte alternativa sobre todo de la Ciudad de México en ese momento.
Thank you. I love all this stuff, because a lot of times when we talk about our favorite bands, all we see is the stage, right? I mean, you right now in any fan base almost, but especially the Cure, you can look up every single concert. You can not everyone, but you can find it, and you're just staring at the stage. But the camera never turns around to the audience. It rarely talks about the context because, as we're saying now, like, sure, it's harder in some ways to get tickets because they sell out like that. But in 1992, when you guys went to this concert, it was like I see it as a pilgrimage.
Totalmente.
I see, the 8-hour train ride and finding, like, Ivan, you had said Wish wasn't available at the time, and you had to get, you guys were talking about mixtapes. And so it's a very different experience in Mexico in 1992 than it was in England, where maybe some people were already like, oh, they've sold out. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different, yeah. And I find that so important and fascinating because I always look at the crowd. And so when I was at that Morrissey show, and I don't like Morrissey, so I was looking at the crowd. But I was seeing all these passionate, California Hispanic people, and people were like, "Oh my God, they're huge in Mexico." That's just what somebody was saying in my ear. I don't know if anyone wants to translate that real quick.
Alex,
Erich. Bueno, de lo que hablábamos de nosotros era acerca de lo que comentaba Eric, era de la conexión que había, y lo que está diciendo Arusha es que ella cuando estuvo en Los Ángeles vio la relación de Morrissey con la comunidad latina, de Los Ángeles, y lo mismo con The Cure. Entonces es como una cosa cultural que no está como muy, lo que decía Eric es que como la relación que hay Los Ángeles con la Ciudad de México, esa conexión todo el tiempo ha existido a través de los fans de The Cure, Morrissey, Depeche Mode, The Smiths, Morrissey, justo porque de lo que hablaba Eric de la K-Rock y las estaciones de radio, lo que a mí me tocó ver, porque yo viví un tiempo en Los Ángeles en los 90s, era justo esa cosa, ¿no? De los fans que iban a los conciertos de Depeche Mode, de The Cure, era gente mexicana de primera generación, y bueno, yo era un mexicano viviendo allá y que pues disfrutaba la música de igual manera. Pero esa comunión que se hizo fue como, no podría yo explicar justamente o con exactitud cómo es que
Y
se
yo
dio. Ajá.
también nunca he podido explicar, estoy y con muchos de mis compañeros de las diferentes estaciones de radio que he trabajado a los años, es algo como muy entendido. Hay una peculiar atracción a cierta oscuridad, ciertas gotitas de oscuridad en la música que en México funciona muy bien. Y The Cure es evidentemente uno de los pilares de eso, pero que a lo largo de los años va pasándose a Placebo y luego a Interpol, y donde estos grupos que pertenecen al movimiento que esté de moda, pero el que tiene 3 gotitas de dark, en México se convierte en algo épico. Y nunca hemos podido explicar esa particular fascinación. Voy a aventurarme a decir que a lo mejor es algo que tiene que ver con nuestro entender del Día de Muertos y otra como atracción que a los mexicanos nos resulta natural, el entendimiento de este otro lado de la conciencia y de la realidad. Pero de que existe, ¿no? Aunque siendo esa o no la razón, que no sé cuál sea, lo que es innegable es que hay una particular atracción por los grupos que tienen esas gotitas. Si es medio oscuro, en México va a ser mucho más exitoso que el equivalente que no es tan oscuro. Y es un buen ejemplo lo del The Smiths con The Cure, porque sí hay muchos fans, sí es de hueso colorado, pero sí The Cure en México se lleva de calle a The Smiths y a Morrissey, ¿no? Totalmente.
Sí, naturalmente.
Ignorando la lucha que tienen entre ellos, ¿no? La rivalidad entre Morrissey y Robert Smith, que creo que a nosotros realmente no nos llegó, porque yo lo aprendí realmente hasta que estaba en Londres viviendo, que fue donde me enteré como de esta rivalidad de años y de muchas de las declaraciones, que a lo largo de toda mi vida en México yo no sabía que ocurría de esa manera. Pero si yo tuviera que decirlo de mi experiencia cuando estaba en México, es claro que The Cure es muchas veces más popular. The Cure y Depeche Mode son muchas veces más populares que The Smiths y Morrissey. También está el asunto de las letras y estas cosas, ¿no? Donde Morrissey y The Smiths, el valor estaba mucho en lo que decían, y en México mucha gente no habla inglés, que es un poco el asunto que hemos tenido incluso en esta plática. Entonces eso también priva un poco el alcance que se puede tener. Do you want me to say that in English?
I mean, just super crunched down.
Okay, we're talking about this very strange fascination of goth and dark-oriented music in Mexico. If you are a band and you have an equivalent, but you're the darker one, you are going to be more successful. And it's something that The Cure is kind of the biggest pillars of this fascination. But if you move further in time, then you get bands like Placebo, that maybe in London is almost unknown. But in Mexico, it can fill stadiums, and it goes to Interpol later on with the New York scene in the 2000s. So there is something there, and I was mentioning that I'm not sure, and I'm daring to go here into the romanticizing and poeticizing this, but maybe it's related to our traditions and the Day of the Dead, of these things in which we kind of find more natural, this kind of fascination with the darker side of the conscience. Maybe not. So as I said, this is kind of an interpretation. But there is definitely something. So that's why The Cure and Depeche Mode are bigger than The Smiths, for example, in Mexico. Though The Smiths is also very, very big. But there's, of course, the barrier that the lyrics, which are probably one of the highlights of the whole of the Morrissey experience, are kind of something that most of the society kind of miss because of the language barrier, which we have been seeing even in this conversation that we're having right now, where the audience kind of sometimes doesn't get the full context of the lyrics. So then since The Smiths, that was kind of the core, maybe that's why it's not as popular. And we weren't aware, to be honest, of the differences and the kind of the rivalry between Morrissey and Robert Smith. That's something that I figured out until I was living in London. While I was in Mexico, those things didn't it's something that I don't remember knowing or or anything. It's something that I actually learned when I was in London. It's like, I didn't know that these guys hate each other.
I think it was, I think they said one sentence to each other and the press ran with it. So that's why I think it's so dumb. That
Probably very British.
But okay, so to move on to like being in the concert, we're gonna have to skip the Cranes or whoever open. Let's get to like if you even remember anything about the actual concert, right?
Yeah.
And I do have a clip. I'm gonna end this on some live. There's something on YouTube from, I guess maybe it was live streamed or captured for something, I don't know. But one thing I've always been impressed with too is loving a band when it's not your native language, right? I mean, there's thousands and millions of bands and fans that experience that. Yeah, there's the Cranes. But Alex, maybe if you can start with any memories you have of actually being there at the concert.
Yeah.
Was your English good? Was it the music? Was it, anything? Go ahead.
I was trying to learn since I was younger, especially for the music. So that's when I spoke a little bit, not so much as I do now, but it was before you understand the lyrics is the music, what it moves you, the way you feel, the way they sing is what it makes you, follow a band. So when we went to see The Cure, I think we were so young and many people, we didn't speak English and we didn't even understand all the lyrics, but we felt the music. So that's why we travel from the city to the border to see this band. And I remember being there. It was my first big concert. It was so excited. I was tired and we were hungry because we got there early. So we were looking for a place to stay and we barely eat. So when we got to the stadium, it was like 5 p.m. It was so hot. We were tired. So I think Ed said earlier that Monterrey and everything. I mean, all the promoters they weren't prepared to this kind of events as big as they were. Because I remember looking for water, and there was no water inside the stadium. You cannot get water or a beer or anything because everything was sold out. So I remember walking to the main gates to get a soda through the fence because you couldn't get out and get in again. So we paid for the soda, and they put the bottleneck through the fence and start drinking. So I remember that.
With a straw?
And it's a true story. Yeah. No, not even a straw with the bottle. You had to hold the bottle from the neck.
You mean
and
like
drinking.
So there's
and they were helping you to with the bottle. Yeah. That's the only way to get something to drink. And we came back to the stadium. So I remember that. I was the head of trader because that's why I had to walk out to the stadium to get something to drink because inside the stadium there was nothing.
It was so hot. I remember it was so hot. For Mexico,
it was very
Mexico
hot
City,
and nothing to drink.
Mexico City is very high, which is also, Mexicans know this, but people outside of Mexico sometimes don't. Mexico City is really high, so it's not actually a warm place.
No.
It's getting warmer now with climate change, but it's not necessarily as hot as Monterrey. And Monterrey is really hot. So imagine all these goth audience all dressed in black, with hairs and spray and everything, and everyone's sweating. It was bad. And it's true. Again, we were still young in all the details on how to organize large events. So yeah, it was difficult to get water, not a lot of places to get it, no beers also. So it still feel very primeval, very, very, very raw experience of just getting the vibe of music. Something that you were saying before is that this thing of the music moves you. I think that in the 80s and for The Cure applies very well. It's also the image, right? I think that in that moment in time, of course, I was also in that age where you want to belong. and you want to belong to something that is different, right? That you can call your own. So then the Cure is very visible and has this the image was like nothing else. So then of course that's super strong for people at that age. And again, it was the first band with these qualities coming to Mexico. So of course you get all these people that needed to do the pilgrimage to be part of the of this event with my people, right? With my crew, and which is a massive crew, right? So
Yeah,
I think that definitely matters.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Ivan, if you can translate that briefly in Spanish, and then you can talk in Spanish about what you remember, if you remember anything about the actual music and the night, or seeing Robert's hair, or whatever. But start in Spanish to say that, because there is, like, Eduardo Fernandez says, "Hola, buenas tardes, desto cuidad de Mexico." Mucho
No,
mucho calor.
Básicamente justo estábamos diciendo que el día del concierto había mucho calor. Eric decía y justamente coincido con él en que mucha gente no lo sabe, pero la Ciudad de México es una ciudad que está a 2.440 metros sobre el nivel del mar. Entonces es una temperatura que nunca es demasiado alta, nunca es demasiado baja, pero en Monterrey definitivamente ese día había muchísimo calor. Y lo que dice Alex es muy importante, o sea, no había ningún lugar donde, bueno, por lo menos no había muchas personas a quien comprarle agua, a quien comprarle una cerveza, entonces tenías que salir o ir a la orilla para que alguien te diera agua, y sí, literalmente la estaban dosificando así, casi a traguitos, porque nadie tenía agua, ni había dónde comprarla, entonces fue muy complicado, y como bien, y Eric también estaba diciendo, bueno, que pues nos podemos imaginar todo el mundo vestido de negro, algunos ya con varios días ahí, o por lo menos la noche anterior acampando en tiendas de campaña haciendo fila, y eso creo que fue, digamos, exhaustivo, porque mucha gente llegó ahí desde en la mañana y dejaron entrar a la gente, yo no sé si ustedes lo recuerdan exactamente a qué hora, pero sí fue como a las 5 o 6, o sea, pasaron todo el día bajo el rayo de sol, ¿no? Y como
eso es muy importante y no lo habíamos mencionado. Fíjate
tiene que ver con el contexto que dice Eric, que no estábamos, digamos, preparados en ese momento, por lo menos no como ahora, y quisiera yo hacer una puntualización ahora en inglés sobre esto, de la organización de un concierto, ¿no? Y eso denota mucho la falta de venta de cerveza, la falta de venta de agua, una desorganización, digamos, que al final creo que fue un caos bastante organizado dentro de lo que cabe, a diferencia de experiencias que tuvieron en otros países, bueno, que terminaron como en lo que ocurrió en Argentina, ¿no? En 1987. But what I wanted to say, and I'm going to say this in English, is that in 1992 is a very different. I mean, we have 33 years ago, all this time, and I want you to see how the things are changed. What I want to say is that now too many people from United States, from Canada, and even from Europe are coming to Mexico City shows of The Cure. And in 1992, no one of us expected to happen that someday. It was like nobody knows at that time where Mexico is, where Monterrey is. And right now, a lot of people, I mean, after 33 years, wants to come to the Mexican shows. So it's pretty interesting how we change. And I think, fortunately, I've been in many shows of The Cure all over the world. And I think we have right now in Mexico City, not just for The Cure, for all the kinds of concerts of very different musics, we have a very good environment. We are very good. We have very good organizations to do the concerts. I mean, the Corona Capital, I think, is one of the best ones in the world. I think probably we are one of the best countries to do this. I don't want to sound arrogant, but it's true. I think Mexico is right now an authority to organize concerts. And also we are a great audience, I think, for every single group, not just for The Cure.
Y sí, eso es importantísimo. Pasamos de ese momento en los 90s y finales de los 80s de que no había conciertos. Ahora, como tú dices, totalmente es una de las capitales de eventos. Bueno, pero es que en realidad hubo una explosión cultural en México y ahora es un epicentro cosmopolita de cultura en todo, ¿no? En arte, en música. Y los festivales, sí, por ejemplo, ese que mencionabas, el Corona, es el año pasado, creo que fue, ¿no? El año pasado o hace 2 años que tenía un cartel insuperable. No había ningún festival en el mundo que tuviera el cartel que se tenía. Y eso me parece que sí muestra un crecimiento y una evolución descomunal, casi desproporcionada de cómo estábamos ahí, de no tener nada, ahora a tener absolutamente todo. Te voy a ser sincero, que yo ya llevo 17, 18 años fuera de México, pero cuando estaba en Londres, que es probablemente el lugar más cosmopolita donde he vivido, ya los conciertos estaban a la par, pero ahorita en San Francisco no llegan la mitad de las cosas que llegan a México.
Sí, ahorita México se volvió como el epicentro a nivel mundial, como decías, en general, ¿no? En cultura, música, en gastronomía,
Sí.
en un montón de cosas.
I'm trying to get.
Y en ese momento, en la parte que es cuando estabas hablando de la parte histórica y del día del evento, es cierto este momento en esa época, es importante recordar que la gente iba y acampaba, y ahora, eso es algo que ahora probablemente solo pasa con Taylor Swift, me lo puedo imaginar, ¿no? No sé, pero en ese momento había gente que seguro había acampado, si el concierto fue en un jueves, seguro había gente que llegó el martes sin ningún problema y que no tenían hotel, que estaban en tienda de campaña ahí afuera, ¿no? Cosas que ahora ya no se ven, pero en ese momento eso pasaba.
Oh yeah, you guys just got a bunch of flags and hearts for the fans in Mexico. Well, some in Salt Lake City, but just saying hello and thank you. I pulled something up from, I've been trying, the other thing I was trying to do is I had this fanzine and I had wanted to write a story about this concert. And so I was writing it back and forth to some Mexican fans, and it always got disconnected, and I couldn't get it together. But somebody had written, I was standing, this is Jorge Aviles Valdez, this is years ago. I was standing from the stage where the cranes opened, excellent group. And when Robert came out on stage, it was madness. People were swinging to the front, crushing those who were in front. No doubt it was one of the best experiences since one was very young, and being able to travel 8 hours to go. I remember hearing something about him getting a black eye or something. Does that ring any bells, or something punched in the... I gotta find it, but maybe we can talk about, like, he comes out, the Cure comes out, and the madness that ensues. Does anybody remember anything?
Everybody want to get in the closer as you can to the stage to see them, like, because it was the first time we were young. And, but I remember trying to get close to the stage, but it was so hot, it was so warm that I started sweating and I started getting dizzy because we didn't drink enough water before the show. And we got there like hours before, standing with the heat, under the sun. So you were already tired, and that the heat attrited when you get before the show. So when the show starts, everybody wants to come close to the stage. So that's when it gets warmer because you start sweating. And if you didn't drink enough water before the show, it started to become like a dangerous place to be in. So I remember I was...
Y se puso ni para adelante ni para atrás. De repente, yo recuerdo que yo de alguna manera me quería quedar cerca de donde está el audio, que siempre he tenido la teoría de que ahí se escucha bien, pero mi grupo de amigos y mi novia querían acercarse. Entonces, cuando sale Robert Smith, yo ya no hago ese tipo de cosas, pero en ese concierto todavía fue de los que te avientas hasta adelante donde puedes.
Claro.
Y hubo un momento donde ya tenía así abrazada a mi novia para que no nos fuera a separar la multitud, pero así nos quedamos empapados del sudor de todos los que están alrededor, de uno mismo, ahí, porque hay un calor ahí tremendo. Muy incómodo, pero obviamente memorable. Y ese fue el momento donde, ya, nos tenías así abrazadas a mi novia para que no nos fuera a separar la multitud, pero así nos quedamos empapados del sudor de todos los que están alrededor, de uno mismo ahí, porque hay un calor ahí tremendo. Muy incómodo, pero obviamente memorable. son recuerdos pues sí, de otro momento de tu vida, ¿no? Pero no haría eso hoy de ninguna manera, pero en ese momento todavía me aventé a estar lo más cerca que se podía.
Claro.
Recuerdo que lo veía cerca, pero probablemente no estaba tan cerca, no sé, no estoy seguro. Estaba ahí en la parte de la cancha y te insisto, rodeado de gente a la que terminaste ahí, sintiéndole todas las partes del cuerpo, porque no había manera de evitarlo, pero...
So this is where I got this thing about a black eye. It says from the book A Visual Documentary, and this is from the Cure concert DE. It says Robert sustains a black eye after being hit in the face with a large heavy object during the Cure's concert in Mexico City, but it was actually Monterrey. A Cure spokesman says Robert has big, beautiful shiner after being hit in the eye. Lots of fans have been throwing small coins on stage. We don't know exactly what hit Robert, but nobody could find it afterwards. After some discussion, in fact, it's a lie. Oh, this is interesting. So that was
I haven't
written in
heard
this
that.
book.
I never heard that story.
So
I
this
didn't
never
remember.
heard.
it's fake
Yeah,
news.
I didn't remember anything like that
Oh.
happening. It will be very normal to throw things at stage. Let's be fair. That will be very normal. But I don't remember anything hitting him or he.
No,
Yeah,
no, no. I can't
I don't
either.
remember anything like that. And they were playing in the previews and the forthcoming shows like 24, 27 songs. And the Mexican show was 24 songs. So it was like a regular show. There was 3 encores. Was almost the same at the set list of the previous concert in Dallas. So I think I don't know nothing about this, but like you were saying, it was pretty difficult to get at some point to just breathe, and you can't go further or go back. You just have your place and you can move, like you said, well, with your own sweat and all the people. It was like very difficult to move inside the audience.
Yeah, so the set was, I'll see if I can, I doubt I can get it up here in time, but it was tape.
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember seeing The Cure in 1992, and when tape came on, it was like I was like a Pavlov's dog. I was like, oh, they're coming, you know what I mean? I just started freaking out because like somebody was trying to talk to me, and I was like, you know, because I knew that they were coming, but they didn't know. So it was tape, Open High, Pictures of You, Lullaby, Just Like Heaven, Fascination Street, Charlotte Sometimes, Trust, The Walk, Let's Go to Bed, Friday I'm in Love, In Between Days, From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea, Never Enough, Cut, I don't even remember Cut, an End.
Yeah, I remember Cut in Monterrey.
Oh, you do?
Because I was watching Simon playing the bass line. I was like, you know, like in a trip. Because that especially Cut, the bass line is so strong. And I remember Simon, the way he looked at that time, you know, like it was so strong for me because I was too young and I was so impressed. So I remember Cut in Monterrey. They did Cut.
That's awesome. I wish I had a picture.
It's pretty awesome, yeah.
The only picture I have is that little one that I keep showing. But I do have the concert of a forest that goes into forever. Because let's continue. So Encore 1.
Yeah, like 20 minutes.
Encore 1 was Love Song, Close to Me, and Why Can't I Be You. So they did their little pop. That's interesting. You know, they started like, let's do a pop set. Let's do a dark set. So then it was 3 Imaginary Boys, Primary, Boys Don't Cry. Oh, it's interesting. It says A Strange Day into a Forest, but it doesn't list Forever.
A forest, it was like a 20 minutes version, I think. You guys remember?
The long version.
Oh, maybe it's just a long version with those funny lyrics that people have. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. He changed the lyrics. I remember. I can't remember exactly what, but he was changing somehow the lyrics to make it longer. Yeah.
I always consider that
when he says "Take me home tonight" or something like that.
Take me home tonight. I don't wanna let you go.
No, I don't think it was that.
I'm wondering, Arusha, what I mean. Did you have any notice of the Mexico show or the Gringos think at that time to come to Mexico show, or do you know anybody between all your friends or all your fans that probably been here in Mexico at that show in 1992? I would like to know if there was a foreigner in
I
Mexico.
saw I
What?
saw people from America, from the US, making the line to get into the show. A lot of
There,
gringos.
there were probably gringos. Before I get to my story, definitely. Is it Lorenzo? I'm going to butcher your name, but I want to give a shout out to the Cure Mexico because they connected us with Eric and just have been very helpful in promoting.
Great.
Yeah, thank you so much. So they're saying that the whole show was recorded.
There's WFM, I think, or
So we
Sí,
need
o
to.
el canal este de Monterrey, te digo también. Again, this TV channel that existed in Monterrey was a very strong force at that time. So
hay un audio en línea de todo el concierto
Hit,
que hasta soy el promocional de
TV.
WFM.
Yeah. I think it was broadcasted, right? Yeah.
Ujú.
Yep.
Sí, y WFM creo que fue quien lo transmitió.
Sí,
Y de
sí.
hecho, cuando está el concierto, se oye como el puentecito este de WFM. Y de hecho, creo que lo puedes encontrar en línea, el concierto de Monterrey completo.
Probable que esté por ahí en YouTube. Sí, no se me haría
Yo
nada
lo
raro.
descargué alguna vez, pero el disco duro de la computadora, el que lo tenía, o sea, se arruinó, pero lo llegué a bajar en alguna ocasión el concierto completo. No venía continuo, pero sí venía porque lo transmitían y supongo que pasaban comerciales o algo, pero era por tracks, que
Sí.
sí estaba disponible. Por ahí debe de andar, supongo.
Okay, so I got to remember some of the things that we're talking about here, the takeaways of this. What's the radio station?
WFM.
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 Okay.
Magia digital.
Yeah.
WFM, we need to source. I'm sure the Cure Argentina has it, Ariel or Clive. The Cure Mexico, of course, has a full show on the channel, on their channel. Cure Mexico, do you want to drop it in the chat? Drop your link, and then because I'll just play a forest when we end, and we can watch it if you want. You want to watch it together and comment on it.
Great.
Hopefully, I have the right clip. But you, so there's that. There's also the comment about like why the dark. I'm going to say something that's probably not PC, but when I was a goth kid, we used to call each other the darkies.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like dark skin. We were just joking about like being like darkies. Like we were the darkies. And so I almost
In
said
Spanish,
that.
we call them darketos here in Mexico.
Darketos.
Darketo.
Yeah. Darketo.
Okay, so having a little
Yeah,
humor. Please, nobody cancel me. This was a different era. This is all with love. My mother is from Brazil, and so I have the some Latin blood. My name is African, so I have a a very multicultural background. And first of all, I just want to say that I do agree with you about the Day of the Dead, the longing, the mourning, who's the director that did Talk to Her? It's not Alejandro Inarritu. It's another one, Almodovar or something. To me, Mexican culture is very romantic, right? It's longing, and a lot of like Brazil goes into way saudade, like very like everything is so beautiful and sad. So of course the Cure are perfect for that.
Yep.
So I want to remember that. I want to remember what Yvonne said about. You all were saying how Mexico wasn't really structured to host a concert like that, so there was no water, and the trains all had to get changed, and it was too hot, and all the things, which just sounds like a concert in California now. But now that that's completely changed, it's true. I saw the Cure in 2019 in Pasadena, and I thought I was going to die. But I didn't know in 1992 about Mexico, Yvonne, because I didn't know that anybody followed the Cure anywhere. I was living in Arizona, growing up as a Cure fan, and it was kind of like I had to keep it a secret because so first of all, the normal people thought I was weird of all the bands that I liked, but it was some guy wearing lipstick and that, and then even with the weirdos, you could only like a band a certain amount to be cool. If you liked a band too much, people would be like, why are you going to see them again? Why do you need to see a Forest again? So me and my friend Ian in 1992 actually made a pact after that concert. We were like, we are not talking about it with anybody, and in 1996 we're going to go to all the shows and meet the band. So in 1992 I saw them 3 times. Somebody might have to translate this.
Que en 1992 vio a The Cure 3 veces.
So the first one was Phoenix, the second one was LA. And I was waiting. I was with these people who didn't really care. And I was like you, Erich, I wanted to go, maybe not I didn't know about the hotel, but I wanted to go to the after show or something. I just wanted to be near them. And so I waited. I saw where the after show was and I waited. But my ride wanted to leave. So I was crying and crying and crying. So just to build that I had no clue, right, that they were so popular everywhere else because all the people I knew were like, you're too much into this band, you're weird. So for the last show in New York, I met some people that I didn't know very well, and they were going to drive from Tucson, which is very close to Nogales, right?
Mm-hmm.
To New York. It took us 48 hours, which is like 3,000 miles. So that's probably the entire stretch of Mexico. Let me pull up my map again. Somebody wants to translate that little bit. Yeah, I mean, look at where Phoenix is. And you're going, I'm going off the map over to New York, right?
You cross the whole country.
So I get in this car with these jerkheads. Oh my God, they were so terrible. All they cared about was smoking weed, and they were thought it was cool. And I was like, we were killing ourselves to go see the Cure. But we did go. The concert was amazing. I think I was in front of Perry, which that was the first time I could see it. He was in the band. So I was like, oh, who's this new member? I thought they were never going to play again. Right. And that was when they were also at the QE2. Do you remember hearing about that? Probably not.
No.
Don't. No.
They came by boat to New York because Robert didn't want to fly. That was the deal. And so, unbeknownst to me, like Chris White, if he ever listens to this playback, I think he was there. Janie was there. They're people that run Cure News, for those who, if you guys don't know. Jean and Marie were there. There was a whole bunch of fans that followed them around at that point, but I had no clue. Maybe Leanie was there, I don't know. But we had heard that, oh my God, they're going to be at the QE2 the next day. Because after the concert, I tried to go back, to the backstage, and I was kicked out, just like in... what's it called? Almost Famous. I went to down the alley and they were like, you're not invited.
Okay,
Yeah. Anyway, the numbnuts that I was traveling with were too stoned and we were late, and so we completely missed them. I don't know if anyone wants to translate, don't get stoned and see the Cure, but I was like, we just drove 3,000 miles. We're totally starving, eating one chip and Coca-Cola. And you guys are so baked. And we go to the QE2 and it's taking off. And I see these Cure fans. What I remember is that they were floating on air. They were floating out to me. And I said, how do I connect with you? What's happening? Because these people I'm with are assholes. And that's when somebody handed me the Cure News International. And they said, write a letter to that.
And everything changes from there.
Everything changed.
Cool.
Ivan, does that answer your question?
Yeah, of course, a great story. I mean, I was thinking when you've been talking,
Somebody, wait,
how many.
somebody briefly say that, I missed them at the QE2 or didn't know, or in Spanish. No.
Iván, que si lo dice en español.
Bueno, que Arusha básicamente está diciendo que, bueno, que ella durante la gira de Wish los vio 3 veces, en 3 lugares, si no me equivoco, y que viajó de Nueva York a Phoenix, y me parece que a Los Ángeles, y que bueno, que igual iba en un auto con algunos amigos suyos, si no me equivoco, iba bebiendo Coca-Cola y, digamos, compartiendo el viaje. Y bueno, un poco por lo que relata, tampoco era, digamos, tan fácil para ellos viajar, digo, supongo que más sencillo que para nosotros, pero también para ella en la escuela decir que era abiertamente fan de The Cure no era algo tan sencillo y que fuera, digamos, tan aceptado tan recurrentemente, ¿no? Tenía que un poco que guardar un poco cierta compostura y bueno, básicamente es lo que decía. Listo, Arusha.
Yeah. So, but I do think that it was the answer about Mexico is that the English knew, right? The people that were already following the Cure, which there really were a lot of people already following the Cure at that time, especially from Disintegration. They knew that the Cure were playing in Mexico. They may not have known that, the cult of the Cure in Mexico, but there certainly were people following them around. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm forgetting everyone's name. Alex, am I saying
Yeah.
that right? Yeah. You remember Cut. What are some musical moments? Does anyone else remember specifically a musical moment?
I remember a forest.
Sí, a
The
Forest.
end.
Yeah.
I think the forest was like apotheosic, was like a great end.
What?
Probably from the edge of the deep green sea, I remember some part of it. We were like freezing, like we were like zombies at that time, and with the hot and finally the show and probably all the adrenaline of the previous day. I think we were very tired at the moment of the show, to be honest. But I mean, I remember it's a great
So
show.
you're
And
like hot. You're
it was
hot, and
here.
then you're cold, and then you're exhausted, and you're like,
Absolutely.
Hungry.
Absolutely.
I love
like,
this
It's
band.
undeniable, man.
like Erich just said, I never been. I mean, now It's impossible to go to the front. I never been in front row. I don't like to make lines since the morning, like many of our friends do. And but at that time, I tried to be at the very first line. I mean, but it was impossible. I mean, that was a memorable show.
And the other thing, okay, Eric, do you remember anything specifically about the concert?
Well, it's basically the same experience as them. Everyone was really tired by half of the concert. You, of course, already exploited your reserves, so it's kind of difficult to. I'm actually surprised that you remember very well the order and everything. I mean, probably if I check it up online, I'll probably memories can start coming back. But when I think about it, I just remember being static about the whole experience. Like, oh my God, they're playing in Mexico and you're there. And I was because I've seen them before, but not with my girlfriend. So it was the first time that I was seeing The Cure with her. And so I was all these things that were like really important. So it was, this moment of being in the crowd at the very front and being like completely squeezed out and sweating. So it's more that it was a tough experience, one of those that it's an adventure that you remember, and we keep remembering. That's why you're doing this documentary. So it's definitely the memories of a historic moment, not only personal, but also in the culture of the country and kind of relevant also for the band. So I kind of I cherish the moment in that sense, not so much into the analytical about if I really enjoy this song or not this other song, etc. For me, it's more the overall thing of how it happened. Again, it's also very warm moments for me of my early days working in radio and doing the guerrilla stuff at the ground and everything. So now that I've been talking about it during all this interview, it's been great to remember those moments of my life. But no, I think that I'm not that into what exactly they played. Again, if I probably look at the set list, or if I listen to the version that is recorded, it will immediately start to remember those things. But right now, from the bottom of my heart, what I remember is just like it was a very fun adventure to have. And I actually cherish that it happened in Monterrey, and we all had to do our different pilgrimage to get there, because that actually is what made it special.
Yeah, I think that what you're touching on is what Push is about, right? Because as I said, I grew up with people going, why this, why that? And I'm like, just stop. Why do you care what I'm doing? Like, who are you? Just stop asking me. I mean, I'm not going to go get tans. I don't care about football. You know, I got to go see this band 100 times. I got to spend every penny. I got to starve myself, get really aggravated, cry at the show up even as a 54-year-old woman like Yvonne saw me at 4 a.m. at the goddamn Troxy show recently. Did I even get into the front row? No, because they added another line and I was like crying because I was so stupid. But, you know, how it feels to be this alive.
Yeah.
How it feels.
Absolutely.
It's a life-changing experience. Because at that moment, The Cure was my favorite. I mean, at that moment, that was the only band that I really cared. You know, like it was my favorite band and changed my life forever. You know, like finding a way to get there because you didn't have enough money. You know, like selling this, selling that. I mean, skipping school, work, whatever, just to go there and see them. So, yeah, it's a life-changing experience when we were young. So, not many people have that luck in their life, I think.
Yeah, and Ivan, go ahead, Ivan.
Yeah, I think I just I'm agree with Alex. I just wanted to say to end my participation, like I'm very grateful to life, like for having been born in this period of time and enjoying and coexisting with The Cure. So I feel very grateful for that. And I think since that moment in 1992 starts a lot of shows, lots of more shows I've been. But I think that was the beginning, and that was the perfect moment to stay. And The Cure were accurate, playing in, like Erich says, in the best moment, in the best place. I think the crowd who attended to that concert, it's a very specific Mexican people, great fans for many years, not just for The Cure, you know, for many bands. So I think is all that people who attend to that show, like Erich says, we don't have any shows in the near time. Just in 1992, Rod Stewart and the other one, he says, of Santana. So I think the people who attend to that show, I'm being with many of them in different places, in different shows, not just Cure shows. And I think was an amazing people that keep the music living in Mexico, and we change, and they put the scene of the music You can see Erich, you can see Alex, or both of them work in music business, in radio, in records. So I think I'm very grateful to attend to that show and being with this kind of people. That is very specific people that for the people who the music means something in our lives, like the music is important in our lives. I think many of the people were there in that show, in that year, in that day.
Beautiful. Now you have to say in your native language, and then I'm going to show that we'll sort of wrap it up. I'll close out showing the video, which is long, so we can all stay on or we can fall off or whatever we want to do, and just before you translate that last bit, I want to thank everybody for joining. We could probably talk for 2 more hours and run ourselves into the ground. But we will have another talk about Mexico. We'll go into, would it be 2004? And then
2004.
Yeah, and 2013 when he played 4 hours for his goddamn birthday or whatever.
Oh.
But,
Yep.
and then hopefully Ismael and then Elise will be with us. And of course, oh, look at that.
That's the batch from 2004.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Amazing.
Yeah, and of course, Alex and Erich, you're more than welcome to come back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arusha.
This is the thing about these shows. It's like there's not a lot of, I mean, there's a fair amount of people coming in and out, but I find it so fascinating because you get a sense of history from the people who were there, not the people I mean, I'm interviewing you or I'm letting, we're talking together, but it's a conversation. And so it's a grassroots fan history, like we're all been saying, of a very important concert, not only for the fans who were there, not only for The Cure, but in history at that time, right? So Yvonne, I'm hoping you can say, just in Spanish, what you were saying about the good thing for you is meeting the people and all that.
Claro, sí, of course. Justamente yo estaba diciendo que yo realmente me siento muy agradecido con la vida en general de haber nacido, digamos, y coincidido en ese periodo de tiempo y coincidir con The Cure en general y haber estado en ese concierto, en ese show de Monterrey significó mucho para mí y ha significado mucho en general para creo que quienes disfrutamos la música y la concebimos como parte de nuestras vidas, porque justamente me ha permitido interactuar con muchos fans como Arusha, como Erich y como Alex, que son 2 personas que digamos, se dedican a la música y que estuvieron en ese concierto y creo que lo que estaba diciendo un poco es que todos los que fueron a ese concierto de alguna manera me queda claro que eran personas con un interés muy particular en la música, no solo en The Cure, y que son personas que han trascendido a lo largo de sus años, a lo largo de su vida, con carreras musicales, como Erich, que se ha dedicado a la radio y ha logrado muchas cosas desde ese concierto que pudo ir, digamos, con la radio, como Alex, que actualmente, que se ha encargado de difundir la música en México, en su tienda en Los Ángeles y aquí en México hasta la fecha. Entonces creo que haber coincidido en la vida con The Cure y haber estado en ese primer concierto, pues fue algo, o ha sido algo que creo que a muchos nos marcó y nos ha dejado un muy buen sabor de boca para toda la vida, ¿no? Y digamos, este es quizás el mejor testimonio de haber vivido ese momento y de no haber sido únicamente espectadores, ¿no? Sino protagonistas en una época en la que ser protagonista era muy complicado y era muy complejo poder ser protagonista. Entonces, no nos quedamos del lado de los espectadores, fuimos protagonistas en primera plana.
Totalmente.
Totalmente de acuerdo.
And
Pero
on
el
that,
poder de la música es lo que tiene, ¿no? O sea, genera estas cosas, ¿no?
and on that note,
El poder. Ajá.
only because it's been 2 hours and we got to wrap it up. I'm gonna start playing this concert. And Cure Mexico, I saw your link on YouTube, but it's an audio link, not a full video link. Am I drunk? I'm not drunk. I'm sober. But here's a video of the forest. Here we go. I hope. Let's see. Let's see if I can. Nope, I don't want to do that. Hold on. Stand by, please. Harry!
Exclusiva. La gran señal.
the forest all alone. The goal is never there, it's always the same. I'm running towards nothing. Again and 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 Monterrey, long time ago, lost I harbor down in Mexico. Stars, guitars, such as lips as red as wine, broke somebody's heart, and I know that it was mine. It happened in Monterrey. Without thinking twice, I threw away her kiss and keys to paradise. My indiscreet heart, how it longs for my sweetheart, but I left him. Oh,
Exclusiva. La gran señal.
Okay, good night.
Wow. Thanks to everyone for joining, my guests, Erich, Yvonne, Alex, and a big shout out, I'm like in tears, to Daniel Guttierez. He was the Cure fan that posted this photo that really got my attention. And Andy and Ava, way back in 2016, watching that footage after hearing all of these stories for 2 hours, makes life really beautiful. It's the effort and the community. See you next time. Viva Mexico and Gulf of Mexico. Peace.